everybody, it's Jamie from Play-doh and Preschool. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. I hope you're having a great day. I thought I would pop on today to talk about what I think is pretty much the perfect center, the perfect activity for preschoolers. It's so easy to set up, and I think it teaches them improves so many important skills, especially their fine motor skills. So the thing I'm talking about today is Play-doh. I know if you've been teaching for any amount of time that you probably have your own favorite Play-doh recipe. My favorite Play-doh recipe is a cooked Play-doh. It's a salt dough, so it's salt, water, oil, and flour. I add a little bit of cream of tartar for freshness, so that lasts longer. Hey Shelly, hi guys. And you cook it, you mix the ingredients and cook it on the stove. You can also microwave it, but I have better luck on the stove. It takes me about 5 minutes to throw together a batch of Play-doh, and it lasts for a very long time. As long as nobody is sneezing in it or licking it or anything like that, you can actually save the Play-doh for a very long time. So this is the batch that we're using in April. It is, I've just mixed it up. Blue, and we made 2 separate batches, blue and green. The kids haven't mixed all of it up. I was able to find some that's still separated. And of course we're learning about the earth, so they were making, earths. I love this Play-doh because it's really soft. I know I've tried, probably like 100 different recipes over the years. Hey Lori, it does not crumble, it's not sticky at all, and if you put it into a Ziploc bag or an airtight container, it lasts, like I said, forever. We usually do a batch a month, and that's a really good job to give to a parent volunteer, to send home the recipe and maybe a little jar of cream of tartar and ask them to make a batch of Play-doh for you. So this is our Play-doh for April. The thing that I love about Play-doh is that, I'm not sure about your kids, but it seems like in the last recent years, never go back to store-bought. I know, and it doesn't have that weird smell. I know, we don't use store-bought at all. It seems like in recent years, my students, my preschoolers, 3 and 4-year-old preschoolers, their fine motor skills have been on a gradual decline over the last 5 years. If I compare where my students were in 2005 or 2006 in coming to preschool to where my students are in 2016, 2017, it is a drastic difference. I think part of that has to do with handheld devices and more opportunities to just use one finger instead of their whole hands. I don't know what else to attribute the rest of it to. But the way that we like to really work on their hand strength and fine motor skills in a very playful, fun, easy way is through Play-doh. So when they're squeezing it, it's improving their hand strength, they're pushing it, that's that, pincher grasp and working on hand-eye coordination, and it's just really fun to play with. It's a great sensory experience too. I know, the thing with the fine motor skills, that's the only thing I can think is all of the iPads and handheld devices, right? I can't figure out why else. Kids 10 years ago were coming in and they were coloring and their hand strength was pretty decent and we could get them to do the scissors, and I feel like now, I get they want to write like with their fingers. I don't know. Anyway, I have, I didn't count them, maybe like 5 different ideas for how to use Play-doh in your classroom. My favorite, of course, is just to put out Play-doh and some rolling pins. I got these at the party store. They are in like the goodie bag aisle, where you can buy a whole bunch of goodie bag stuff. And they're so super cheap. And so I just like to put out rolling pins. Another fun thing to do with Play-doh is to put out cookie cutters. So I have a set of different, they're gonna fall off the thing, of different shape cookie cutters. So that's a fun way to incorporate some math, to do, can you pass me the heart? Or I need a square. And you can also find rolling pins with different textures on them. This one makes like tracks, like train tracks. This one makes like almost like a waffle, pattern. And if you give every kid a cookie sheet, then of course their imaginative play, their pretend play, kind of turns into like making cookies, right? Which is super fun. Another thing that I love to do with Play-Doh is to give them different textured mats to play on. You could give them squares of sandpaper, and you can get sandpaper at the dollar store. It comes like 5 pieces in a pack, and just give them a piece of sandpaper to play on because that's a great sensory material. This plastic, what's it called? I think it's just like a plastic canvas. I can't remember what the exact name of it is. This is really great to use with Play-Doh because if you're playing with it, let's see if you can see this. If you're playing with it, on the plastic mat, then it doesn't stick to the table as much, but it also makes that really cool impression, which the kids love. It's a neat texture experience, and it doesn't get too messy. So I love to give the kids a plastic mat to use their Play-Doh on. That's a nice way to change it up. The textured rolling pins are awesome, Heather. I think that they ran a set. I've had them forever, but maybe like a Lakeshore set or something. You can also buy different textured scrapbook paper at the craft store. They have that like aisle with all the different scrapbook papers, and they're like, I don't know, 25 cents each or something. And they come in lots of different textures. This is like corrugated cardboard, but you can also just rip open a corrugated cardboard box if you have one of those. And this is a great texture to play Play-Doh on too, because again, when you press it into the corrugated cardboard, it makes like that really nice, can you see that? Really nice texture, so it feels really cool. So adding texture to your Play-Doh area is a fun way to kind of just change it up so they don't get bored in that center, right? The other thing that we love to do with Play-Doh is to add loose parts. And I know if you go on Pinterest and search like spring Play-Doh invitation to play, you'll see like 100 different people who are much more creative than I am. But just adding something like a little basket of loose parts, if it's, bingo chips, or these are those plastic jewels that we were using last week in our writing trays. I do reuse a lot of stuff, and they can just make, flowers or whatever it is that their imaginations, let them think of. But adding loose parts to Play-Doh is a really fun way to change it up, and it doesn't take any time to set it up. Which, if you've been watching any of my other videos, you know that I really like centers that don't take a ton of time to set up. Adding craft sticks is another great loose part, or these are like really thin craft sticks. I got them, somebody probably gave them to me in a box. But they're kind of a fun way just to, add some dimension to your Play-Doh. Of course, you can't go wrong with adding googly eyes, because, watch, I'll make like a little, then that really encourages the kids to think about, sculpting animals or people or whatever, like I said, whatever their imaginations can think of. Another thing that we do love is to print out Play-Doh mats. Now, Play-Doh mats are a little hit or miss in my class. Some kids love them, and other kids, I think, feel like they get in the way. When you do a Play-Doh mat, you want to make sure that it's laminated so that it doesn't, the Play-Doh doesn't get all gross on your paper. And I love these. These are our number mats. I forgot to do it before I logged on, but I'll also leave a link. Pre-Kinders has some really great Play-Doh mats that are free printables. I'll leave a link to that. But on this one, they're to make the shape of the number, and then there's a tens frame where they can count. Oh, I didn't make a big enough 7 here. Where they can count, 7 balls or 7 whatever on the number mat, so they would count little pieces and fill up 7 of them. So number mats are kind of a fun, they're really good, especially for the older kids who already have down their hand strength and their fine motor skills, and they're kind of done like playing around with the Play-Doh, and they would like something a little bit more productive to do. So Play-Doh mats are fun. And then another thing that I would encourage you is, if you have kids who are struggling to use their scissors, and please tell me you do, because I still have kids here, it's almost May, we still have kids who are struggling to use scissors, even in my pre-K class. They're still holding them like upside down, or they do. Anyway, scissors and Play-Doh are a great combination because you don't have to cut, through the paper. When you're cutting a piece of paper, you kind of like push it all the way through, and they do that fringe thing. But cutting Play-Doh is a really fun, good way to practice scissor skills. So I know somebody yesterday left a comment on one of our videos that, do we teach them how to use scissors? The answer is yeah, we try. We do try. We actually have some scissors in our sensory table this week. I'll have to show you another day. But scissors and Play-Doh are also a really good combination. Yeah, scissor skills. I still have kids who are like two-handing it. Ah! I'm like, you guys, it's April. The other thing that I wanted to encourage you is, if you don't have a favorite Play-Doh recipe, I totally recommend the one that I left a link to up in the video description. And this one, I just added food coloring. But listen, you can be as creative with Play-Doh as you'd like to be. So instead of adding food coloring, you could add a packet of Kool-Aid, you know, like the powdered drink mix, the little envelopes, they're like 10 cents, and then it smells good and it colors the Play-Doh. That's a really fun way to do it. One of my favorite ways to do it is, instead of adding food coloring, is to add like a 1/4 cup of powdered cocoa, not hot chocolate, but like the, you know, like the cocoa mix, like the unsweetened cocoa, and it makes like a chocolate Play-Doh. Now I have to tell you a funny story about this chocolate Play-Doh. So my husband is like, he's a really good sport, right? Because this basement is not the man cave of his desires. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is not where he can watch football and hang out. And so he's a really good sport about having a preschool in his house, honestly. He actually does all of my dishes every day. I take my dish bucket upstairs, and he is a really good guy. But he tends to like eat the leftover snack and stuff that's in the dish bucket. So if we've had, like say we had cornbread for snack, and there's like a bowl with, you know, a few pieces of cornbread. And so I know for sure when I carry the dish bucket upstairs, he's gonna be snacking. You couldn't pay me enough to eat stuff out of that dish bucket, but he'll be snacking on the cornbread. Well, the very first time that I made chocolate Play-Doh, there was some like in the bowl, or I don't know where it was. And I've always told him, do not eat stuff that comes out of preschool. I make all kinds of crazy stuff down there. It could be shaving cream, it could be soap. What are you doing, right? But I see him, because this looks a lot like chocolate, like cookie dough or something. And so I see my husband, I'm like in the other room, but I glance over and I see him take a big bite of the chocolate Play-Doh. And I'm like, ah, that's gonna taste terrible. And so he spits it out and he's like, what was that chocolate cookie you made? It tasted terrible. I'm like, hey, it was Play-Doh. You're not supposed to eat the stuff that comes upstairs in the dish bucket. Come on, you're a 4-year-old man. Give me a break. And so if you have to tell your 4-year-old husband not to eat the Play-Doh, if you make chocolate Play-Doh, it's probably a good idea that you remind your 4-year-olds that they should also not eat it, because it tastes terrible. The good news is, with this cooked Play-Doh recipe, it really is edible. I wouldn't eat it, but it's absolutely taste safe. And worst case scenario, like they eat it and swallow it, it's just gonna taste like a big pile of salt, which is disgusting. But it's just all food products, so you know, flour, salt, water, oil, and cream of tartar. So, bleh. But if you know, use your imagination. Instead of chocolate, you make the basic Play-Doh and add, or you know, make the basic Play-Doh, instead of water, use apple cider, and that makes a really great apple cinnamon Play-Doh. Instead of water, you could make like a really dark brewed coffee, and that makes a really nice mocha dough. You could use like a really strong lemonade mix, you know, and that would, well, you can use the Kool-Aid lemonade too, but you can really put some ketchup on it. Erica. I'm telling you, you would think he would learn 12 years living in the same house as a preschool not to eat stuff. Don't eat that stuff. Come on, you don't know who sneezed on it, right? He likes the chocolate Play-Doh. Anyway, you can really use your imagination. So, you know, you can mix in some mint, and that makes it, you know, smell really nice if you've got some cooking mint, or mix in some vanilla, that smells really good. There are just so many possibilities with this Play-Doh. As long as you're not adding anything with sugar. So like the Kool-Aid envelope doesn't have sugar in it. You have to, you know, it's sugar, you have to add sugar when you're actually making the Kool-Aid drink. So that's sugar-free. Of course, the cocoa powder doesn't have sugar in it. As long as you're not making it with sugar, then you can put it into a Ziploc bag and seal it up. It doesn't have to be refrigerated, and it will last, I mean, like months. If it was just my own kids at home, I'd keep it for months at a time. With my school kids, I try to toss it out every month just because, oh no. Oh no! Selena. Ooh, that's terrible. He is like my fifth child. My husband is definitely like my fifth child. He's a really good guy. I mean, like, he does my dishes every year for 12 years, right? So, and he lets me have a preschool in the basement, so I have no complaints, but come on, buddy. You shouldn't eat the chocolate Play-Doh. Anyway, what I was saying is if you zip it up or put it in an airtight container, it lasts forever. So hopefully you've got a few ideas for how to incorporate Play-Doh, and I have Play-Doh out or available every day for our students because I think it's so important for their development. That's all. Okay, he is really the man. I mean, like, come on, how many people would be like, sure? Although, in fairness, when we bought this house, I told him I was going to do the preschool for a couple of years. And then I would go back to my real job, you know, teaching in the county schools. And so the couple of years was like almost 12 years ago. So I don't think I have I'm sorry, I can't read and talk at the same time. I don't have any desire, of course, to stop doing preschool. I love it, so don't tell him. That's all. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon playing and learning with your kiddos. If you haven't joined our private group for the LuLaRoe extravaganza, we're going to do that tomorrow. There's a link in the video description. He really is a trooper. I mean, like, come on. And we will not be live on Play to Learn tomorrow. We're going to do our live video in the LuLaRoe group. So even if you don't want to you know, purchase any LuLaRoe, or you're not interested in the LuLaRoe, or you don't know anything about it, you can still join the group and watch us make fun of ourselves tomorrow as we try some clothes on. So this shirt that I'm wearing is actually a Julia dress. It's like that long pencil dress, but of course I'm wearing it with jeans because I wear everything with jeans. And so I just kind of like folded it up and tucked it up. But on the weekends when I don't wear jeans, then I could wear it as a dress. So it's a cute little Julia. I liked the pattern. Anyway, that's all. See you tomorrow in the LuLaRoe group, and have fun playing and learning with your kids. Bye, everybody.